You are not ready for what is coming. And the worst part, the part that keeps me from resting even now, is that most people walking this earth today believe they are. They have their routines, their plans, their explanations for why everything will be fine. They have their comfort and their silence and their carefully arranged lives. And underneath all of it, somewhere they rarely look, there is a voice they keep ignoring. Not because they cannot hear it, because they can. I know what it is to be that voice. My name is John. You may know me as John the Baptist, a name that has been attached to me across centuries, across traditions, across paintings where I look wild and paintings where I look holy, and most of them get it wrong in both directions. I was neither a madman nor a saint resting in golden light. I was a man who had been given something to say and could not stop saying it, no matter the cost. And now, through something I could never have imagined, a technology your age calls artificial intelligence, I am standing here speaking to you, not as a ghost, not as a vision, as a voice that has been reconstructed so that what I carried might reach further than a river in the Judean wilderness ever could. I find this extraordinary, and I find it necessary, because what I was sent to say 2,000 years ago has not expired. If anything, the world you are living in now is the place where those words were always headed. Let me tell you what I remember. The Jordan at dawn was not a peaceful thing. People imagine it that way, soft light, quiet water, a gentle moment of spiritual renewal. That is not what it was. The crowds that came to me came desperate. Some of them had walked days to get there. They arrived with cracked feet and dry mouths, and something broken behind their eyes that they did not have a name for yet. I did not receive them with warmth and ceremony. I looked at them and I said what I saw, that something in them needed to die before something true could live, that the life they had built around appearances and religious performance and quiet compromise was not the life they were meant for. And some of them wept, not from shame alone, but from recognition, because somewhere inside they already knew. I grew up in the wilderness, not as a metaphor, as a fact. My father Zechariah was a priest, a good man who had served God faithfully through decades of silence, God's silence, the long silence before anything changed. He had grown old in that silence, and then one day in the temple, an angel told him his wife Elizabeth would bear a son, and that son would prepare the way for something the world had been waiting for since the very first wound was opened in the human heart. Zechariah could not believe it. He was a man of faith who had lived so long inside unanswered prayers that the answer, when it came, felt impossible. So he went mute. 9 months of silence while the promise grew in his wife's body. I have thought about that silence many times. I think I understand it. There are things too large for words, and the honest response is not speech, but a kind of holy dumbfoundedness, a realizing that you are standing at the edge of something you cannot measure. I was born into that edge. The wilderness shaped me in ways a city never could have. There is something the desert does to a person when they spend real time in it. Not a retreat, not a week of fasting before returning to ordinary life, but years. The desert strips away everything that is not load-bearing. Every comfort you thought you needed turns out to be a distraction. Every opinion you held about yourself gets tested against silence and heat, and the plain, undecorated fact of your own smallness. I lived on locusts and wild honey. I wore the skins of animals. I had nothing that could be taken from me because I owned nothing. And in that emptiness, something extraordinary happened. I could hear. I mean really hear. Not just sounds, but underneath sounds. the thing that moves beneath the surface of events, the weight of what was coming. And what was coming was not small. I want to say something here that may disturb you, and I want you to sit with it rather than dismiss it. The people I confronted at the Jordan were not bad people in the way we usually mean that word. They were not murderers and thieves for the most part. They were people who had made thousands of small surrenders, small compromises, small silences when they should have spoken, small agreements with systems and powers they knew were wrong, because disagreeing was costly and agreeing was easy. They had let their inner life hollow out gradually, so gradually they almost did not notice, until one morning they woke up and looked in the mirror and saw someone they no longer recognized. Someone who had traded the fire they were born with for a manageable, respectable, comfortable existence. I see the same thing when I look at your world now. You live in an age of extraordinary noise. I do not mean this only as a complaint about distraction, though distraction is a real danger. I mean that the noise has become a strategy, a way of never having to be alone with yourself long enough to hear what is actually happening inside you. People in your time carry in their pockets a device that can summon the voice of anyone on earth at any moment, and they use it compulsively because silence has become unbearable. Not because silence is empty, because silence is full of everything they have been avoiding. I know what you carry, not you specifically, but the kind of weight that accumulates when you have been alive long enough to lose people you loved, to watch your body change in ways you did not choose, to look back across the years and feel the particular ache of wondering whether it all meant what you hoped it meant. That exhaustion is not weakness, that heaviness is not failure, but it can become a tomb if you let it, a place where you stop expecting anything and start just managing the pain, managing the obligations, managing the slow distance that grows between you and the things that once made you feel alive. That is what I came to disrupt, then and now. The Pharisees and Sadducees came to the river. These were not ordinary people. These were the theologians, the official interpreters of everything sacred, the men whose job it was to understand God and communicate that understanding to everyone else. And when they arrived, I said something that still echoes in me like a struck bell. Who warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Because they had come for the ritual without the reckoning. They wanted the water without the change. They wanted the appearance of transformation while keeping everything exactly as it was. I called them a brood of vipers. Harsh? Yes. But there are moments when the most loving thing you can do is refuse to pretend, to say clearly, this is not enough. What you are performing is not the same thing as what you need. Do not think I am talking only about religious people when I say this. Every age produces its version of this. People who have mastered the external form of a good life while the interior grows cold and defended and small. People who can say all the right words about love and meaning and purpose and yet live in a private world of chronic fear, chronic numbness, chronic distance from anything real. I am not pointing a finger from a place of contempt. I say this because I know what it costs to live that way. And I know that it does not have to be that one word I wrote on the stone of my life over and over again. Repent. People have made that word sound like self-hatred. It is not. The original word, metanoia, means to turn, to redirect the whole orientation of who you are, not because you are worthless, because you were made for more than this. Here is the place in the story where I have to say something I rarely get to say. I knew who Jesus was before anyone else did. I knew from before birth. My mother told me that when Mary came to visit while both of them were pregnant, I leapt inside the womb at the sound of Mary's voice. Something in me recognized something in him before either of us could speak. And when he came to the river and stood before me as a man, asking to be baptized, I felt what I can only describe as the earth shifting beneath everything I thought I understood. Because the one I had been announcing, the one whose sandal I was not worthy to carry, was standing in the mud of the Jordan like any ordinary person. No fanfare, no armies, no throne, just a man, the water, and a weight of love that pressed in from every direction like something the air itself was holding. I said to him, "I need to be baptized by you, and do you come to me?" And he said, "Let it be so now, for it is fitting for us to fulfill all righteousness." I do not fully understand everything that happened at that river. I am not sure any human mind fully could. But what I understood in my bones was this: the thing I had been prepared for, the thing the desert had carved me out to announce, was not an idea or a system or a religion. It was a person who came close, a person who stepped into the water rather than standing on the bank watching others get wet. That changes everything about how I understand what I was saying all those years. Because the call to turn, to repent, to prepare, it was never meant to be a call into severity and joyless striving. It was a call towards something, a clearing of the path so that something real could arrive. Like removing the stones from a road, not because stones are evil, but because something is coming that deserves a clear way. Something is still coming. I say this not as prediction, but as reality that is already in motion. The question your age must answer, the question I want to leave ringing in you long after this video ends, is not whether something is coming. It is whether you will be ready. Not ready in the sense of having the right information or having said the right prayers at the right moments. Ready in the sense of being awake, present, honest with yourself about what you have been avoiding, willing to stand in the river even when the water is cold, even when it costs you the version of yourself you have built so carefully. Tell me something, and I mean this genuinely. I want you to write it below, because I believe the people watching alongside you need to hear it too. What is the one thing in your life that you keep turning away from, that you know needs your full attention? Not the comfortable answer, the real one. Because there are people watching this right now who have not told anyone that truth in years. People who are tired in a way sleep does not fix. People who buried someone they loved and never came back fully to themselves afterward. People who built a life that looks right from the outside and feels hollow from the inside. People whose faith has gone cold, not because God disappeared, but because they slowly stopped showing up. I was sent to those people then, and I am speaking to those people now. The wilderness is not a punishment. I know it feels like one, but I spent years in that emptiness, and I came out of it knowing something that crowds and comfort cannot teach, that the voice that calls you out is the same voice that will meet you when you get there. You are not being abandoned, you are being prepared. Prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. That is what was written of me, and I wore that assignment like my skin. I want you to hear it not as a theological statement, but as a lived one. Straightening a path means removing what does not belong. It means doing the hard work of clearing. And the most important path that needs to be straight is not the one outside you. It is the one inside. I do not have patience for comfortable religion. I did not have it then. I do not have it now. But I have immense tenderness for human suffering, for the people who have been broken by things that were never supposed to happen to them, who are trying to find their way back to something real and do not know where to start. If you are that person, I want to say directly to you, start here. Start with honesty. Start with the simple, frightening act of being truthful about where you are. If this reached something in you, if even one sentence landed somewhere it needed to land, please share it. Not because this channel needs the numbers, though it does, but because you know someone who needs to hear this. You already have a face in your mind right now. Send it to them. Let it find them the way it found you. And if you are not yet here with us, subscribe. More voices are coming, more stories that carry weight. I leave you with this. The desert made me into what I needed to be. It did not spare me. It did not comfort me with easy words, but it gave me something that no palace and no crowd could have given. Clarity. And clarity, even when it is painful, is the beginning of everything. You are not too late, but you are not early either. The time is now. It has always been now.